What's going on YouTube? Welcome to Fresh Review. You're new to the channel. What we do here is every Friday we have Football Fridays. What are those? That means every Friday we make a football video, primarily going over the NFL. For this video in particular, we are doing the top 25 offensive players of this year. Now, this is a very tough list to make, so I had to come up with a rubric so we cannot be biased, right? That's the whole entire goal of this. Let's not be biased. Let's come up with a rubric if we can. And this is how our rubric will go. We have 5 things we're looking at here. The first thing we are looking at is the player's skill level. How good are you as a player? The second thing we are looking at is the player's production. What are your stats for the year? The third thing we are looking at, the player's efficiency. Now, this is a per game basis and a per touch basis, stuff like that. So, what's the difference between the efficiency and the production? You could think about quantity versus quality. There's some players here that played the full season. There are other players that missed part of the season. So, their production stats won't be as high. They won't grade as high as that, but their efficiency stats could be higher than other players. I'll give you guys some examples later. Uh, Now, for number 4, we are looking at your team success. Did you make the playoffs? Did you miss the playoffs? How far did you go in the playoffs? How early was your team eliminated? And the fifth and final thing we're looking at is the replacement level. Hypothetically speaking, if we were to swap you with another player, any random player, whatever, it doesn't have to be an all pro or anything like that, could you still produce what that other person did in a different offense? And then could that person that you got swapped with, could they replicate what you did in your offense, right? So your replacement value, uh, your replacement level, right? That's what we're looking at. So the other 5 things we're looking at. And now, before we go on down the list, I want to go ahead and give you guys how many players are in each category. So we have 6 quarterbacks that made it. We have 5 running backs that made it. 5 wide receivers that made it, 3 tight ends that made it, and 6 offensive linemen. And this is all based on what they did this year. So their previous success, whatever they did in the years past, they won't get a legacy boost, right? They won't get that. It's all about what they've done this year. I think when you add in the legacy boost, it becomes too biased, right? Because like Mahomes could have a down year, and they're like, well, Mahomes is a 3-time champion. Even on Mahomes' down year, he's still the best player in the league, right? I'm not trying to do it like that. Think of like being an MVP voting, right? It's all about what you did this year in particular. So now you guys know about that. Let's go over the honorable mentions. Now, honorable mention, we're going to start at quarterback. And these players right here are Baker Mayfield at quarterback. This guy was sensational all year long. Unfortunately, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. But whenever he lost Chris Godwin, he didn't lose a beat. When he lost Mike Evans for that short period of time, however many weeks that was, didn't lose a beat. Did a great job leading this team to the playoffs. They won their division. Granted, it wasn't a tough division, but still very impressive by Baker Mayfield to do what he did this year. He was willing and dealing all year long. Next, we have some quarterbacks that made the playoffs, but they all had disappointing outings. That is Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, and Justin Herbert. All these guys were fantastic during the regular season. Unfortunately, neither of them won a playoff game in the postseason, right? So, and they're kind of a huge fault for that because you look at Herbert, for example, he took great care of the ball in the regular season. Only had 3 interceptions, gets to the postseason, throws 4 interceptions in one game. That's very bad. Bad time to have a bad game, right? Sam Darnold, another guy, great during the regular season, got the ball out quick, got it out to his playmakers, let him make plays. He was willing and dealing. Postseason, gets sacked 9 times against the Rams, holding on to the ball too long, not getting rid of it. Very bad game for Sam Darnold there. And then Jared Goff, they had multiple turnovers, some turnover on down, some interceptions right before half. Really bad game by Jared Goff against the Commanders. But during the regular season, he was fantastic. Got the Lions to the first seed in the NFC. So those are the honorable mentions at quarterback. Now we go over to running back. These honorable mentions at running back are Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, and Chuba Hubbard. And these 3 that I just listed were very efficient when they got the ball in their hands, averaging about 4.7 yards per carry or even more. Uh, the problem here is their teams didn't make the playoffs except for Bucky Irving. But Bucky Irving was in a timeshare. It's tough to give it to him, but he was definitely very efficient wherever he got the ball. Now we go look at some more running backs. There's 2 more I want to talk about, and that is Josh Jacobs and Kyren Williams. They were there for their team all year long. Very dependable assets. Great job at picking up first downs. They were relied upon to do that. They could block, they could catch, they could score goal line, get a lot of work there. They weren't as efficient as the running backs I mentioned before. They were more volume based. They still, like I said, produced great numbers, but they weren't very efficient. About 4 yards per carry, give or take. But like I said, great stats on the year, very reliable. Nothing they can't do. Now we go over to our wide receivers. We have Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Mike Evans, and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was the toughest one. I actually forgot to say Nico Collins. Nico Collins is another great honorable mention as well. Some of these players missed time, and that's one of the things that hurts them the most. If they didn't miss time, then their production would have been higher, and then that had been one thing. CeeDee Lamb I put on here, and it was tough to put CeeDee Lamb on here. But I had to put CeeDee Lamb on here. I'm pretty sure he led the league in drops. He had a bunch of drops. Granted, he is playing with a banked up shoulder, and it's tough to get your arms fully extended when you can't raise your arm because your shoulder's injured. But CeeDee Lamb wasn't his best year. I expect for him to be back on the list next year. Brian Thomas Jr. started balling out towards the end of the year, especially after Trevor Lawrence went down and got injured. Mac Jones came in, and BTJ took his game up to a whole nother level after the bye week and stuff. So maybe it's because a change of quarterback. Maybe it's because after the bye week, rookies normally develop and get better. But Brian Thomas Jr. makes the honorable mention list. Definitely thought about putting him on there. Drake London and BTJ were both right there on stats, very similar. So, Brian Thomas, well, I made it. Drake London, well, I definitely been right there in contention. The two things that hurts these players the most, and Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors did miss a little bit of time. But all three of these young players, fantastic wideouts, hurts them the most. Teams didn't make the playoffs. And that kind of hurts. Now we look at Mike Evans and Nico Collins, fantastic on a per game basis. The only problem is they missed time as well. But these were great red zone threats, got a bunch of touchdowns when they were in. Very dependable when they do play big body wideouts. Can run full route trees, can beat you over the top, can catch intermediate passes, can do it all. Now, those are the honorable mentions at wideout. Now we go over to tight end. We only have one honorable mention at tight end. That's Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith was probably Miami's best pass catcher, surprisingly, this year, especially towards the later half of the year. Tyreek Hill and Waddle kind of were very disappointing. Jonnu Smith, week in, week out, this man delivered. He had that one stretch where he didn't even catch a pass out regulation, but overtime hits, he gets 3 catches in a row, and then gets the game-winning TD as well. So Jonnu Smith, big year for him. Probably one of his best years of his career, if not the best year, at least in the receiving department. Now we go over to the O-line. The O-lineman, got a few want to talk about here. Trent Williams, left tackle for the 49ers. You could say he's still the best left tackle in the league. Definitely got a case for it. The reason that hurts him the most, team didn't make the playoffs. All these other O-linemen that you will see that made the top 25, there's 6 of them, like I said before, they all made the playoffs. Now, we go look at another person that made the playoffs. That is Joe Tooney. Now, Joe Tooney was a phenomenal guard this year. The problem with Joe Tooney is you're going to look in the Super Bowl and see that he got exposed. Well, we can't hold that against him because he's playing out of position, going against one of the best D-lines, one of the best defenses uh, of all time, not just in the league. No, all time. But let me stop glazing my Eagles. But that's Joe Tooney. Joe Tooney was really good when he was playing in position, when he was at left guard. One of the best left guards in the game, if not the best left guard in the game. And then we have Chris Lindstrom, player for the Falcons, right guard. He's terrific. Bijan been running behind him. Chris Lindstrom has been one of the best young players for the Falcons, and they got plenty of them. Now, that are all the honorable mentions. Those players did not make the top 25. If there's somebody you think I didn't mention, that's probably because they are in the top 25. Now let's go over the top 25. But we're going to do it a little bit different. We're not going to go in order. We're going to go by position. So I want you guys to see you agree with the ranking of the positions. And then at the very end of the video, I'm going to give you the full order from 25 to 1. So stay with me now. We're going to start with quarterbacks here. So at quarterback, at number 6, the bottom of the quarterback here, I had to have him here. Not just as an Eagle fan, just, I try not to be biased. I got Jalen Hurts here. Regular season was kind of disappointing passing-wise. but from a production standpoint. But you look at the efficiency standpoint, and again, he also missed a little bit of time. On a per throw basis, he's one of the best in the league. Took great care of the ball. Had interceptions early, but didn't throw too many interceptions late in the year. Had a long streak without throwing an interception. So Hurts was definitely very efficient. We just ran the ball so much that we got the best running back in the league behind us. But that's a different story. Hurts, what makes him so dynamic isn't just his passing, it's his rushing. And then when the lights are the brightest, Hurts steps up to the plate every time and delivers. Outdueled Mahomes twice in the Super Bowl. And speaking of Mahomes, that brings us to quarterback number 5 for us, and that is Patrick Mahomes. Underwhelming season for Patrick Mahomes standards, but still a solid season where he leads his team to the first seed in the AFC. They only lost one game with Patrick Mahomes starting in the regular season, although they went 15-2. They had the one seed secured, so they benched their starters in the final week of the regular season against the Denver Broncos. Patrick Mahomes leads his team to another Super Bowl appearance. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. What else is there to say? But he wasn't top 4 because the top 4 based off this year at number 4, this was a very tough one. I have Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow was fantastic. He had that historical stretch where he was throwing like 300 yards per game, or maybe it was 275 yards per game and 3 touchdowns. He did that 7 weeks in a row. So that is 2 full months of football where Joe Burrow is alone giving you 21 points per game, right? That's not accounting for rushing TDs from the running back, rushing TD if Joe Burrow decides to run it himself. All that. He's giving you 300 plus passing yards. You know, he also can run and get you some rushing yards. And then 3 touchdowns a game. That's phenomenal work by Joe Burrow. But we got him at number 4. At number 3, we have Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels, very tough one in my opinion. Uh, Jaden Daniels was somebody that came into the league and I was kind of unsure about. I knew he was definitely a terrific talent because of his speed and stuff. But I was like, how great will he be going to an organization that's, not too great, didn't think was a great landing spot. He exceeded everybody's expectations. Jaden Daniel had a terrific season here. I'm not even sure he could top it next year. I thought Stroud had a great season last year when he was a rookie. Jaden Daniels this year was sensational, phenomenal. Love Jaden Daniels here. What he did to get the Commanders not only in the playoffs, get them to 12 wins, but then also win 2 playoff games, both coming on the road. Great job here by this young man. The future is bright in Washington. Now, we are at the top 2 quarterbacks, and this is a pick 'em. It's definitely close between these two. But at number 2, I have Lamar Jackson. Number 1, I have Josh Allen. The biggest difference being they split the head-to-head series matchup, but Josh Allen bested him in the playoffs. So got his team a little bit farther there. That's a big difference. And Josh Allen did win the MVP award, but I thought it was definitely close between the two. Kind of went either way. Lamar won the first team All Pro quarterback nod, so it's kind of interesting how that worked. How the first team All Pro and then MVP, quarterback are different things, but that's a whole different story, although it's the same voters. So those are my 6 quarterbacks. Now we're moving on to our 5 running backs. At number 5, I have B. John Robinson. This guy was great for his team. A big step up from last year. Mainly, he was more efficient, but he got more volume. And he got more volume where you really want the volume as a running back inside the 10, inside the 5. Got a lot more goal line work, so he's able to get a whole lot more touchdowns this year. Great year by B. John Robinson. Didn't start this season off the best, but he started picking up as the year went on, and he became very consistent and reliable for this Atlanta Falcon offense. Now, we go on to the next running back, and that is number 4, James Cook. This is a very tough guy to rank because James Cook to me isn't an amazing running back or anything like that. So you look at the replacement level, like you could kind of probably replace James Cook. You probably can't, but you can deny what he did this year. 20 touchdowns and very efficient on a per touch basis. Now, the Bills don't use him that much. Maybe they don't think he can handle a workhorse load, or maybe they try to save him for the postseason. It doesn't matter. James Cook, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can make plays. Very electric. Love James Cook here. So I got him at number 4. Had a phenomenal year. Number 3, these running backs all right here, S tier. And speaking of another running back that's in the timeshare, that is Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs, uh, throughout the year, He's splitting carries with David Montgomery, splitting workload with David Montgomery. But when David Montgomery went down and Gibbs stepped up, he stepped up and he showed out. He showed you why he is so electric, and he was going crazy those weeks David Montgomery was coming out, especially in the game where they had to face the Vikings for the division. He turned up that game. He really showed up and showed out. Had 4 TDs that game to secure the first seed for the Detroit Lions in the final week of the regular season. He was phenomenal this year, and he's going to continue to get more and more workload as the season goes on because next year, like this year, it might have been 60-40 split. It might be 70-30 next year. I know they love David Montgomery, but Jameer Gibbs, man, every time he got the ball, so electric, so electrifying with it. Now, we got the top 2 running backs. Number 2, we got Derrick Henry. And number 1, we have Saquon Barkley. So Derrick Henry, everybody talking about Saquon getting 2,000 rushing yards. Derrick Henry wasn't too far behind. And Derrick Henry was a slight more efficient. Just a slight more. They both were about 5.8 yards per carry, which is definitely elite, but they share something in common, and that is their breakaway speed and their ability to hit home runs by, taking a single run 80 yards, right? They can one play, one house, call it at any time. Very electrifying players. Got to give the edge to Saquon here because he had more rushing yards than Derrick Henry, and Saquon also didn't play the final game of the year where Derrick Henry did. But both these running backs, phenomenal work. And that will conclude the 5 running backs. Now we go over to our wide receivers. At number 5, this is a tough guy to rank here. I thought about putting another wide out here, A.J. Brown in particular, but I went with Terry McLaurin. Big difference between the two. A.J. Brown missed some time. Terry McLaurin was there every week, and he got a whole bunch of touchdowns. I would say this is Terry McLaurin's best year, and the team success that they had. Phenomenal work here by Terry McLaurin. Uh, he is player number 25. I'll go ahead and spoil that one right now for you guys. He is the guy I'm like, do I put him here? It's tough to deny Terry McLaurin after the year he had, but he is player number 25 on this list, and the number 5 wide receiver out of the 5. Now, right above Terry McLaurin, we have Puka Nacua, somebody also missed time. But I promise you, Puka Nacua, his efficiency is insane. There's only 3 wide receivers that average more than 90 yards per game, and that is Jamar Chase, who averaged 100. Jefferson and Puka were both around 90. So that's insane efficiency. And you take that out to a full sample size, you're over 1,500 receiving yards on the season. Tremendous work here by Puka Nacua. The only thing you got to do is just worry about staying healthy. But in the playoffs, he also showed out, and he had me so scared when he made that spectacular catch over Darius Slay that got them into our territory. But Jalen Carter showed up, and he got the game-sealing plays a few plays later. Now, right above Puka Nacua, at number 3, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown was uh, so reliable this year, and even the previous years, ever since he broke out at the end of his rookie year, he's just been a consistent chain mover over and over. He's an all-pro wideout every other year. But let's talk about this year. Another great year for him. A whole bunch of yards, whole bunch of touchdowns, whole bunch of first downs. And you need it. And you need anything, hit St. Brown. He's somewhere in the slot, somewhere open. Now, we got the top 2 wideouts here. It's a 1A, 1B situation, and will vary on year-to-year basis. But without a doubt, this year there was no question. Number 2 is Justin Jefferson. Number 1 is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown. That means he's an alcoholic. No, I'm kidding. That means he won the 3 Kentucky Derby races and like the whatever other race. No, I'm kidding. That means he led the league in receiving yards, receptions, and receiving touchdowns. Tremendous job here by Jamar Chase. But Justin Jefferson, a year where a lot of people didn't necessarily doubt him, but they are unsure of how good he's going to be without having Kirk Cousins there. Like Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy, is he going to be able to put up great numbers? Yes, he still is. He's number 2 in receiving yards here. Another great year by Justin Jefferson. The man's quarterback proof. And we should have known this because the year prior, Kirk Cousins missed time after he tore his Achilles and stuff. He's out there going crazy with Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins. It doesn't matter. He's the truth. Justin Jefferson's at number 2, Chase is at number 1. Now we go over to tight end. Tight end, we have 3 tight ends here. And at number 3, we have Trey McBride, tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. terrific pass catcher. He's always open. He was Kyler Murray's most reliable option here in the passing game. Problem with Trey McBride, he's allergic to the end zone. He was socially distancing in 2024 to 2025. He didn't get the memo. You don't have to socially distance anymore. He was 6 feet away from the end zone at all times. Now, he did recover a fumble in the end zone early in the year, and him recovering that fumble kind of does count as a touchdown. I mean, it does count as a touchdown, but it's not a receiving touchdown. He didn't get a receiving touchdown till like the second to last week of the season, and then he got another one the last week. But it was kind of scary. I'm like, Trey McBride, don't go down in history on some Jacoby Myers stuff, on some Miles Sanders stuff. Like, yo, these are the most touches ever while somebody scoring a touchdown. What's going on here, right? So Trey McBride did find the end zone at the later part of the year, but so reliable. Great hands, great route runner. Love Trey McBride. Now, we got two tight ends here that this is very tough to choose between. It's the rookie Brock Bowers and the veteran, probably future Hall of Famer George Kittle. And for this, I went with, excuse me, I went with Brock Bowers at number 2 and George Kittle at number 1. Now, the main reason being Brock Bowers and Kittle, even Trey McBride, neither of these players made the playoffs. But big difference here. Kittle's team was probably a little bit closer than Bowers, right? Because it seemed like they could have been the playoff race maybe in the early December. They officially got eliminated. Man, these other teams they were gone in November. No, well, no, my apologies. Not McBride. McBride was also there in December, but Bowers, them boys are out of there in November. When they traded Devontae Adams, you could probably make the case they were out of there. But nevertheless, Brock Bowers, historic rookie season, one of the best rookie seasons ever at tight end. George Kittle, another great season for him, going over 1,000 receiving yards, getting some touchdowns. Um, the reason I give Kittle the slight edge, I think Brock Bowers is a great blocker too. Great football player in general, all around. He can do everything. Doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. George Kittle, best blocker in the league. I really think George Kittle needs to like get paid the Travis Hunter salary, where Travis Hunter can play wide out cornerback. George Kittle is really a tight end and an offensive lineman out there. It's kind of cheating what San Fran has going on, especially when they line them side by side with Trent Williams. It's not fair, but that's a whole different story. Great job by these tight ends this year. They all were sensational. Now we go over to our offensive linemen. At number 6, we have Frank Ragnow, and like I said earlier, all these offensive linemen, their teams make the playoffs. We have Frank Ragnow, center for the Detroit Lions. He's responsible for a lot of those David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs touchdowns near the goal line, and then a great passing attack all year for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. Now we have another center at number 5. We had Creed Humphrey. And I thought about putting his teammate here, like I said in the honorable mention, Joe Tooney. I wasn't sure who was better between Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney. It's definitely close between those two. But we got the Kansas City Chiefs center, Creed Humphrey here. Team makes another Super Bowl appearance. And it's like every year this man been in the league, they make the Super Bowl. So thankfully they lost this year. But Creed Humphrey, man, great player here. Now, at number 4, we have Tristan Wirfs. So Tristan Wirfs is the Buccaneers tackle. He's another great tackle. They drafted him a few years back, and I liked him coming out of college. I even love him more now. Uh, that efficient running game of Bucky Irving, averaging like 5.5 yards per carry. Tristan Wirfs is a great part of that. He's mobile. He's able to get to the second level. Great player here. And then he's also able to protect Baker. Baker's out here having career years. Tristan Wirfs is a great reason for that. Big reason. Now, at number 3, we had 3 tackles, the 3 best tackles in the league. I think they're all S tier. I think Wirfs is like A plus, but these other 3 are S tier. In the order I have at number 3, Lane Johnson, number 2, Panay Sewell, and number 1, Jordan Mailata. This is very interesting because I didn't want to be biased and go double Eagles at 1, 2. So I went with Panay Sewell at 2, right? But I think you're splitting hairs between all 3 of these offensive tackles. They're definitely fantastic. They don't give up many sacks, if any sacks at all, and they're all mobile. They're able to go to the next level, and you need them to pull. And the Lions do this a lot. They do a toss play to Gibbs or a wide receiver reverse. They get these big boys moving, right? Same thing with us when we do tosses to Saquon. I like seeing Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata start getting a full head of steam. People start getting out the way. That's a lot of men running at you. and you got to make these business decisions, all right? I mean, you want to try to get by a 300-pounder and then try to tackle these explosive running backs that I had in the top three? Hey, I wish you well then. But those are the top, those are the positional rankings, right? And this was very important for me to construct, right? Because when you do it, you got to make sure you get, look at the roster for all the teams and stuff. Make sure you don't miss anybody, don't snub anybody. But then I ordered it in positional value, right? So rank them by position. This hour had it ranked. And then the way I constructed this list, for example, we're looking at the bottom at number 25. I say, all right, who's the worst player between Hurts, or who had the worst year, between Hurts, B. John, Terry McLaurin, Trey McBride, Frank Ragnow, right? So I looked at the bottom person for each category, and then I just worked my way up. So, in my opinion, is number 25, Terry McLaurin. Although he had a terrific year, I think his was the worst. So once we eliminated him, we went up to number 24, right? And then we did the same thing. We said Hurts, B. John. We added Puka in now, because he's our fourth wideout. And then McBride or Frank Ragnow, right? And then we just kept doing that process over and over and over. So, without further ado, let's start at number 25, Terry McLaurin. Talked about him already. Now, number 24, Frank Ragnow. That's the center for the Detroit Lions. At number 23, Creed Humphrey, the center for the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 22, Trey McBride, the tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. At number 21, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, now we're into the top 20. This is at number 20, B. John Robinson, the running back for the Atlanta Falcons. At number 19, Puka Nacua, the wide receiver for the LA Rams. At number 18, Brock Bowers, the tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 17, James Cook, the running back for the Buffalo Bills. At number 16, George Kittle, the tight end for the 49ers. At number 15, Tristan Wirfs, the offensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At number 14, Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 13, Lane Johnson, the offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 12, St. Brown, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. At number 11, Penei Sewell, offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. Now we're in the top 10. At number 10, we have Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. At number 9, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, running back for the Detroit Lions. At number 8, we have Jordan Mailata, offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 7, we have Joe Burrow, quarterback for the for the Cincinnati Bengals. At number 6, we have Derrick Henry, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. At number 5, we have Jaden Daniels, quarterback for the Washington Commanders. At number 4, we have Jamar Chase, wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. At number 3, we have Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. At number 2, we have Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And number 1, we have Saquon Barkley, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of these rankings and which one you think I got way off, which one I have wrong. Now, I normally tell people, you're arguing about number 25 to 20, whatever, that's whatever. But the top 5, I'm going to repeat the top 5 to you because I feel like this is super important. Jaden Daniels at 5, Chase at 4, Lamar at 3, Allen at 2, Saquon at 1. Did I get the top 5 right? That's the ultimate question in my opinion. If I got the top 5 right now, man, I can sleep good at night. If I didn't, let me know in the comment section down below. But if you made it this far in the video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know if you want me to change anything about this, because I like this format. I thought I gave you guys a good insight on what I was thinking as I was breaking down constructing this list. Show you guys a little bit behind the scenes and all that, how I made it. And I will replicate this one for the Defensive Players League, but there's something you think I can improve upon. I said Defensive Players League, my apologies. Defensive Players video. If there's something I can improve upon, let me know in the comment section down below. If there's something you didn't like, thought this was a great idea to show you guys. Let's go position by position, and then at the end we can do the whole entire list rundown instead of going 25 to 21. But if you guys think I should just skip the position by position part and go right to the 25 to number one, we can do that as well. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.